So I have some visioning tips before we get into the actual journaling process. And so one is vision the vision and keep the end in mind. It's really important for you to say you want a new job or you want a cabin, for instance. It's like, what is the end thing that you're trying to get? You have to have the vision towards the end. And so, and always be keeping that in mind as you work towards that vision or goal. Be very specific. So I'll share something. I wanted a cabin and I wanted it in the Methow, which is outside of Seattle. It's a snowy area where I could go cross-country ski in the winter and I could, do a lot of hiking in the summer. I was very specific where it was. I was very specific that I wanted, a view, what it felt like inside, and we'll be talking more about that. So be very specific about what your vision is and what that end piece is. This is so important. Know in your heart of hearts that it's going to happen. Know in your heart of hearts, beyond anything else, that it's going to happen. It might not be on your time frame, but just know that it's going to happen. Whenever it does, it will be the right timing. And when you think about this vision, think about how you will feel there. So taking, for instance, the cabin goal of mine, I knew that I could be athletic there, that I could be peaceful, that would be a place that I could go sit on my sofa, snuggle up and read a book. I knew I would, do a lot of cooking there with friends and that I would have a sense of calm when I went there. So, and it would be a getaway from the city, and running my business, which is a PR firm, but that was a place where I could go to get away from it all. So that was how I knew that I would feel when I got there. A couple more visioning tips. Do 1 or 3 or 10 things every day towards your goal. And I started a new company in about a decade ago, and I didn't tell anybody about it, but I did 1 or 3 or 10 things every day. And within a year, I had a new company. And it's really important to tell the universe and to tell yourself to be very, be intentional that you are serious about this goal. You are serious about this mission, vision, whatever it is. You have to do something every day in order to make that happen. You have to have action. And it can be peaceful action, but it just has to be something. Remain open. As I said, you never know when you're doing those 1, 3, or 10 things every day, what doors will open up for you during that time. Because as we said, the power of the universe, once you have a dream, all the universe conspires to make it happen. Now, it might not be, it's going to happen in one way or another, but remain open because you don't know what door is going to open at any time. I have a recent story about that. I have been visioning getting a puppy for the last 3 years, and I knew his name was Juno. And it doesn't make a lot of sense because we have 2 other dogs in the house, 2 golden retrievers, and one's 15 and a half, one's 6. And I've just been wanting a puppy because my Jakey is getting older. Well, some things happened about 3 weeks ago, and while it wasn't the perfect timing, we now have a puppy in the house named Juno. So just be open with timing because you never know when that opportunity might come serendipitously through your outreach. Timing is everything. So this really leads perfectly into that. Timing is everything. You may not think it is the right timing, but it is the perfect timing in the universe when those things happen. So just remain open, and timing is everything. And then this one, I think is really important also, is it can be an altar, with a Buddha, you know, your little Buddha on it that you look at every day and say, you know, your vision, this is what's going to happen. It can be something where when I wanted that cabin, some friends of mine had given me some of their snowshoes from her mom, and I put them downstairs in my house. And every time I went downstairs, I'm like, those are going in the cabin. Those snowshoes are going in the cabin. And guess what? Those snowshoes went in the cabin. So, you know, it can be an altar, or it can be something just like snowshoes, or, you know, a friend of mine put, she wanted a baby really badly, and she put little baby shoes on her mantle, and she looked at all those every day, and she's a single mom with a baby. I love that story. Okay, so are you ready to do some journaling? Let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and for some of you, 3 minutes will seem like a long time, and for some others of you will think that it's no time at all. So I'm going to set my little alarm here for 3 minutes. You won't hear the alarm. I'll make sure and turn it off before it comes on. But the first question is, let's start with some gratitude. Gratitude is everything. It's so important to be grateful for what you already have in your life. So let's start with gratitude and spend 3 minutes writing at least 3 things you are grateful for and why. Somebody said it's not long enough, 3 minutes. I know, but you can go work on it after this. So 3 things that you're grateful for. You have about 45 seconds left. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Is there anything blocking you from moving forward? 3 minutes. Have about a minute and a half left. Go ahead and wrap it up. And we'll go on to the next question. What is your vision and why do you want it? What is your vision and why do you want it? 3 minutes. You have a little more than a minute left. You have 15 seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next question. Vision the end. Be specific and remember your point of attraction is now. So what that means is that you're visioning the endpoint, right? Be very specific about what that is. Three minutes. So somebody asked, the point of attraction means what your vision is at the end. What's your point of attraction? It's the end vision. You have a minute and a half left. So go ahead and wrap that up. Next couple seconds. So the next one is write your affirmation. So I want to tell you how to do that. So to create a positive affirmation starts with the words, I am. These are the two most powerful words in the English language. Use the present tense, state it in the positive, keep it brief, and make it specific. So I am. Use these two powerful words, use the present tense, state it in the positive, keep it brief, and make it specific. You have 3 minutes. You have 90 seconds. Okay, let's go to the next one. Will you commit to do something or 3 things or more every day towards your goal? And how will you commit to this? Will you commit to do something or 3 or more every day towards your goal? How will you do this and keep it going? 3 minutes. This is all about being true to yourself and your dreams and your visions. You can also think of this in the next 90 days, what will you commit to? Or if you want to break it down even further, you can say in the next 30 days. You have 90 seconds left. Moving on to the next one. What will it feel like when you get it accomplished? How will you feel? How will it feel like? What will it feel like when you get and or accomplish it? How will you feel? 3 minutes. You have 90 seconds left. You have a few more seconds. I'm going to add one last question here that is not on this list that I think is really important as you are manifesting whatever it is that you want. How will you make this a joyful experience? And how will you celebrate and or acknowledge your success? So once again, how will you make this a joyful experience and celebrate and or acknowledge your success? 3 minutes. I'll put it in the chat. You have 90 seconds left. Okay, we have about 15 more seconds here. Okay, so those are all of the questions for today's journaling session. And I would love for you to share your experience either in chat, or if someone wants to share their experience on camera, that would also be lovely as well. Does anyone want to share? You can type it in the chat. You don't have to come on camera. Would anybody like to share their experience? I know for me, taking time like you have this morning is so important, you know, to set your intentions and to really think about it and to give yourself grace around it as well. I had an experience earlier this week where I wanted things to move faster and I was frustrated, and you know, I came back here and I journaled for a while, and I felt so much better knowing that I was on my path and that I had some little successes along the way. That's why I asked that last question, is that instead of feeling frustrated that things weren't moving quickly enough, I took the time to acknowledge the small milestones that I've had towards my goal. And so it's just such an important tool to remember as you're going towards a goal, is to acknowledge and to have it be a joyful process, because I think sometimes we think we needed something yesterday, where the universe really has its own timing in mind, and to know that that timing is perfect. And when I look back on my life and the manifesting that I've done and the intention setting and the goal setting to start businesses, to have a cabin, you know, to have a puppy, all of those things, it's a journey. It's definitely a journey. So I'd love to read some of these things in the chat. I really feel like the tip to create very specific goals. It gave me something to envision, which will be much greater likelihood that I'll make it happen. Very smart to devote time to that goal setting. Thank you, Shannon, for sharing that, because it is so important to be specific. When I started the women's groups many years ago, like 10 years ago, I started them at my house, but I envisioned, you know, something bigger. I never realized how much bigger it could get. And, you know, now we're experiencing that with RevelEleven. So, you know, you might set that goal and then you exceed that goal, and then things become even bigger than you could have ever imagined. So there's so many beautiful things in these tips that you can hear the puppy, right? In the background. Maybe I'll bring him out in a minute when we end. So let's see. I want to read from Renee. I really appreciated the experience. I really like the 90-day time frame. It feels more manageable and I feel more empowered to go after my goals. I smiled a lot during this workshop. Thank you so much for sharing that. This has been such a helpful process for me, breaking things out into, you know, sometimes even just 30 days, and then looking back and like, wow, that 90 days was really amazing. I do that I break it out in my calendar. I write down everything. I do very little on the computer, because when you write things down, it's in your handwriting and it's in your voice. And, you know, a lot of people do it on computer, but I still feel like handwriting your passions and your dreams down is important. But I make my little calendar, and then I write down, you know, 1 through 15 and 16 through 31. And then I write, you know, my exercises and down, like, you know, whether I walked or did yoga. Then I'll write down, you know, the one thing that I've done towards my goal. So it's very specific, and it helps a lot. It also, you know, one time, I mean, this was many years ago, and I wanted to buy this house. Actually, it was years ago. I haven't lived in it all 20 years that I've owned it, but I looked back on my journal, and my house looks exactly like the drawing that I made in my journal. And I was like, I looked back one day, I'm like, oh my God, I drew the house that I actually bought. anyway, so just a fun little story about having a journal and being able to page through something and go back and look like at what you've accomplished. I truly appreciate this space and reminding me how far I've come. Thank you, Lisa. That's great that you acknowledge that. I appreciate the instructions. You've inspired me too, Lisa. Well, the easiest part of this introspection exercise was actually the last question. How will I celebrate and make it joyful? I'm going to buy a bunch of red balloons and fill my house, whatever it takes. I did that with my tulips this morning. I went and bought fresh tulips to have joy and happiness, and whatever it takes to have that joy and that remembering that, so that you can celebrate along the way, whatever that is. Oh, and chocolates. I really like chocolates too. It helped to hear your examples. Shannon, thank you for sharing that. You know, I've had a lot of success with manifesting, and I've gone after some goals that I've decided after a certain amount of time that it's like, that's not going to work for me. But it is just really important to put it out there. Allie, I feel lighter. Writing down makes it less daunting in my head. It made it more real. And again, you know, it's like, what are those steps that you can take? And they're just many steps. Like when I started the coffee company during the downturn of 2008 and 2009, like I said, I just did one or two things every day. And, you know, within a year, that coffee company, you know, we branded it, we launched it, and, you know, now it's a very successful coffee company. So you never know what's going to happen. I realized I needed to see smaller endpoints along the way and envision those steps. And that's really true. And that's why I asked that. It's like, you know, celebrate even the small successes, or you're not acknowledging your path forward. So thank you for sharing, everyone. That was so lovely. I want to leave you with a quote, and then I'm going to tell you some more things that are going on with RevelEleven. But I just thought that this was a really lovely way to end with this quote. Life is short, live bold, be heard, be you, most importantly, be you, dream big, take risks, and don't wait. There's nothing like today. There's nothing better than starting something today and celebrating those successes along the way. And thank you for joining me so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry for the kind of clunky start there, but I'm really glad you joined me. And let me share some things that are coming up with RevelEleven.